Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good evening. Hope you guys have been having a great Wednesday and a great work week so far as we inch our way through the work week and try to get to that beautiful day of Friday. This week has been a little different than the last several weeks. I feel like the last few weeks has been, dangerous weather, severe weather, and really big time impactful weather to people's lives just in general. This week, we've had some active weather with the interior Northeast snowstorm and a lot of rain for certain areas and some showers and storms for a lot of other areas, but nothing too crazy, nothing too significant. But really, in this video, we're going to continue to talk about what to expect the rest of the work week into the weekend, as I am expecting severe weather chances tonight, tomorrow, for Friday, and for Saturday, and then the big time potential for another April blizzard for areas of the Dakotas, Montana, Wyoming. We're going to talk about that towards the second half of the video. So we're going to break down that system for you guys who live up there. So if you guys have not subscribed, definitely consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. Things have really slowed down. Weather in general is not affecting more heavily populated areas, or either it's not affecting areas that are subscribed to my channel, which I feel like is probably a lot of more people in the South and Southeast in general. But I'm going to continue to stay consistent with the content. Hurricane season is right around the corner, and I'm telling you guys, I have some big plans for hurricane season that I'm very excited and anxious to really get going for you guys as far as storm chasing. So if you guys got anything I can pray about, please put it in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it. Gives others an opportunity to do so too. So let's get rocking and rolling. This evening, there is a slight risk still up. This is lasting between now, Wednesday night, all the way through Thursday morning, and then the next day 2 day start. So there is a tornado risk. It has actually increased, a 5% risk in this very small section. This includes Tulsa, Oklahoma. There's a damaging wind threat in this area, 15% risk, 25 miles in a given location, and a hail threat, which is elevated. If any storms can really get going, it's going to be a big time large hail threat with this. I really think it will be. And you look at the radar scope right now out of the Tulsa radar, and you see some convection that's trying to get going. Big time heating going on in areas of central and western Oklahoma. And then there's more stable air kind of in eastern areas of Oklahoma, more rain-cooled air, if you will, from this morning's convection. And there's a little bit of a boundary right in this area. And you're watching any convection that can get going. A little bit has got going over the last 1 to 2 hours, but it's kind of diminishing now. So if anything pops up in this area, right here, even down here, large hail and an isolated tornado is the biggest risk, especially large hail. So we'll keep rolling here. And in fact, the storm prediction has actually highlighted this area. This includes very close to Oklahoma City. It includes Tulsa. You got to watch out. It says if any isolated storms can develop this afternoon, this would pose a big time threat for large hail damaging winds and perhaps a tornado. Watch assurance is possible. Not likely, but is possible. And really, you have the dynamics in place right here, but you're just not quite sure if these are going to fire up. Let's take a look at the NAM. What does the NAM show over the next couple hours? Well, what it does show is around 6. Well, it's getting to around 6 out there already, but around 6, 7, 8 p.m., maybe some storms fire up south of Oklahoma City, and some of them can be significant. So you have storms showing up, along the Texas-Oklahoma border. It's even getting close to Dallas-Fort Worth. The NAM is showing storms down here. I'm telling you, it's going to be next to impossible to try to figure out where these storms are going to develop. There's some storm chasers in this area. Hats go off to them trying to predict exactly where convection is really going to explode. But there is a chance that no storms get going in this area. But if there is 1 or 2 that do get going, they could be significant and produce large hail. So watch out, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, anywhere in this area could really have a risk for some significant storms. And these could, per the NAM, maybe drift closer to Dallas into the later evening hours to the overnight hours before really quickly diminishing, even if they get going. Now, we'll tell you the HRRR model doesn't show really anything getting going. It really doesn't. It really backed off over the last 24 hours. So we'll continue to figure out what's going to happen. This is kind of a now thing. So just watch out. Oklahoma City, Tulsa, higher populated areas in between. Watch out, because you never know if you're going to get hit by one of these storms. Tomorrow is going to be a tricky forecast also. You have a slight risk. This includes Wichita all the way to Kansas City. So watch out. Marginal risk covering the area around the slight risk. This includes Omaha, Des Moines, it includes you guys. So just watch out. There is a tornado risk with this, a 5% risk of a tornado in 25 miles in any given location in this Brown area. Wind damage is there, wind chances, but not really a big threat at all. Hail threat will be big with any storms that do develop. Watch out, Wichita. Might be a good area for a storm target area if you are a storm chaser in this area. But storms are going to be hard to come by. There's going to be a cap in place, meaning when I say cap, there's going to be a layer of more stable air that disrupts updraft development from really exploding and taking advantage of any type of cape, storm energy in the atmosphere. So that is going to be a limiting factor in this setup. There's also just an elevated mix layer, dry air aloft in the atmosphere that really disrupts any kind of storm development in general out here. So there is going to be a big limiting factor, dynamics in place, but do they actually get going with storm development? We'll take a look at the HRRR model in this area, and we'll get into tomorrow afternoon. It shows some convection bubbling up here in areas of northern and northeast Kansas, southeast Nebraska, areas of even northwest Missouri, getting even into Iowa as you get later into the evening hours. But does any of this really spark any kind of big time severe weather? That's a big question mark. But those areas I just mentioned, watch out for some severe weather. And then as you get into the evening hours, watch out for a rogue storm down here in south central Kansas. Watch out, because if one storm can get going, it can be very photogenic, but very dangerous at the same time. And I think that is a jackpot area. In this area, I'm speaking as if you're a storm chaser. Once it starts to get to later in April into May, the severe weather threats begin to shift a little bit further north and into a little bit less populated areas to somewhat. Obviously in March and early April, you have the big time severe weather threats and outbreaks in the southeast and the deep south where they're affecting more densely populated areas. But, so we're just watching this tomorrow. I don't want to ramble on that. But definitely a severe weather threat in this area of the country tomorrow afternoon, evening, even to the overnight hours. Then we start to shift into Friday. So what happens here is you get into Thursday, you watch this big upper trough that digs into the southwest here, the desert southwest. This ejects itself across the middle of the country, gets negatively tilted. Around Friday, when does this surface low really develop and get cranked up? That kind of determines how significant the severe weather threat is Friday. There is going to be a chance for isolated supercells from South Dakota all the way into west central Texas. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a second for the latest NAM. But it's going to be a tricky forecast. It really is. The National Weather Service has a huge area of a slight risk stretching from those same areas I just mentioned, an area of southeast South Dakota, all the way to Lubbock, Texas, down here in west central areas and northwest central areas, if you will, of the panhandle of Texas, in Amarillo, the Colby. All these areas in between have a chance of significant severe weather, but it's going to be very hit or miss. But this also gets negatively tilted. Cold air wraps around a low pressure, a deepening low pressure, and this promotes a big-time snowstorm and a blizzard for areas of South Dakota and North Dakota, places of Wyoming, and certainly eastern Montana. This becomes negatively tilted, dynamics max out, and it's going to create some strong winds. So cold air around, blizzard potential is there with severe weather on the south to southeast part of this low pressure is certainly going to be there. And let's go and look at the NAM, which is the only short-range models and range for this Friday event. And check it out. We stop it at around 7, 8, 9 p.m., give or take an hour. It shows supercells exploding here in areas all the way into Mexico. Got supercells down here near Midland, Texas. Watch out, Lubbock, Amarillo. But it's going to be few and far between. It's going to be hard to figure out where it's going to happen. You got a supercell in the Panhandle in Oklahoma, supercells riding the state line of Kansas and Colorado, even some storms forming up here in Nebraska. But then you watch out a little bit later into the overnight hours, and then it turns into a big-time line of storms we have to watch out for areas of northeast Colorado, western areas of Nebraska. And watch out for this, right probably south of the Triple Point. You got to watch out for these nasty storms here, even in South Dakota, where there'll probably be nasty storms right now in this area, but up here, a blizzard is cranking up a few hundred miles to your north to northwest. So dynamic event cranking up. And this is what happens when you have the dynamics in place. These things become negatively tilted. Crazy, crazy weather happens. And it happens all the time. These things come negatively tilted. And a lot of times you got to watch out when these systems become negatively tilted here in the south, because it normally spells trouble for a big time tornado outbreak. We look at the European model. It's still showing. Here we go. We're getting into Friday. An area of rain and snow possible from North Dakota for Friday morning. And then we're getting into overnight Friday into Saturday. Heavy snow breaking out over Yellowstone National Park, southern areas of Montana. And then the cold air wraps in, and Saturday morning you have an all-out snowstorm and just a flat-out blizzard in areas of the western Dakotas. And then certainly the entire eastern half of Montana. You start to get into midday, and it really, really cranks up with a deepening 980 low millibar low pressure. How deep does this get? That really depicts on how strong the winds are going to be. So the stronger the low pressure, the stronger the winds. And this really has a potential to be a strong land low pressure here. But this is very, very heavy snow falling midday to afternoon to the evening hours. And areas of Wyoming, especially northeast Wyoming, eastern Montana, eastern Montana, and then the western Dakotas for sure. So this is going to last all the way into Sunday afternoon and evening for sure. As far as snowfall accumulations, I'm telling you, this is going to be measured in feet. Again, this is going to break April snowfall records for some of these areas. So, just figure out where you are on the map here. Basically, if you're in western North Dakota, prepare for another blizzard. I don't know how much snow y'all still have on the ground up there, but I know in South Dakota, your snow is probably melting as you've had more of a warmer boundary overtake the area. But I'm telling you, eastern Montana, all those areas I just mentioned, even northeast Wyoming, 1 to 2 feet of snow widespread in these areas is certainly possible. And in fact, you even look at the GFS for this, and the only thing that changes is the heaviest snow shifts a little bit further west. But I'm telling you, man, this is going to be a hard-hitting event for this area, that's for sure. And this only goes out to Saturday. This is the National Weather Service that only goes out to Saturday evening, but it's still snowing for these areas. But you see how weird this looks, where you have it cut off. It goes from pink and then just a blue. The National Weather Services in these areas are not quite agreeing, but they will here in probably the next 24 or 48 hours on what they think snow is going to do for these areas. But they're really honing in on already. You can see those foot snowfall totals showing up on this map. So what we really worry about are these winds. They crank up again. We're getting into Friday. You'll notice in all those regions I just mentioned where snow will begin to fall, winds really begin to crank up. And then as you're getting into Saturday morning, right when the snowfall gets its most intense, into Saturday and the Saturday afternoon, look at these winds in areas of northeast Wyoming. These are 30, 40, 50 mile per hour wind gusts, even 60 mile per hour wind gusts in these areas. So it's going to be a raging blizzard up here, a raging late April blizzard. So be careful and know it's coming. Some dynamic weather certainly in our northern plains areas of the lower 48. God bless all y'all. Have y'all a weather update for your Thursday in the morning. Stay safe out there and have a good night.